You're listening to the When Life Hands You Lemons podcast.
But in an entry-level film production, it's one strike and you're out. You're fired. I'm not calling you back.
If your goal today is to make a basket, we're going to make that basket.
The minute you create something, as soon as it's made tangible, you have a copyright in it.
How do I get our guys to sound that big, that full when they do the harmonies?
And I'm your host, Lennon Seahawk. Let's get to the show. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of When Life Hands You Lemons. I am so excited to share this conversation with you. It is with 303. Now, they had monstrous hits back in about 10, 12 years ago with Don't Trust Me, Starstruck, Blah 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 with Kesha, My First Kiss with Kesha, and a whole hodgepodge of others as well. So I am so humbled to have had them on the show this week, and they were so kind and so forthgiving with information and shared a lot of incredible stories and what their kind of aspirations are for what they plan on doing after the coronavirus kind of settles down and music venues and things start opening back up. We get to hear their story and how they met and how they started writing music together. We hear about what they do in production and how their creative process works and a whole bunch of other things as well. And it's just such a great conversation, and I can't even begin to kind of dispel it into a small intro. So I will just let the conversation flow as it may. But before I do, I want to remind you to please sign up to my mailing list, as it helps me notify you when new episodes like this are live. You can sign up via the link below in the show notes or on my website, which is lennonseahawk.com. I would also appreciate it if you would follow me on Instagram, which is just my name, Lennon Seahawk. I will share daily life and podcast things there as well. I would also appreciate a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or whatever platform that you listen to podcasts on, as it greatly helps the show get boosted in the algorithms and get discovered by new listeners. Lastly, if you or somebody you know would be a good guest for the show, there is a link to the guest request form in the show notes as well, so please fill that out. So without rambling too much longer, let's get into my conversation with the incredibly talented and hilarious 303.
Where are you located at?
I'm in LA.
So are we. Oh yeah.
Where are you at? I see that your latest music video, Lonely Machines, was filmed in Burbank.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
I'm in Burbank.
Oh, cool.
word.
We're not far apart then.
Yeah.
We're in Glendale right now, but
Oh, dope.
yeah, we might have been an adult film studio. We're not sure.
It's like straight out of the 90s. It's interesting that there's like a total living room soap opera set, which we use, and then there's like that medical set. It's just like one. It was cool because it's cheap, and it was an all-in studio where
There's like
you can just
ER
get a bunch of different looks in one time. Yeah. So it made sense. I mean,
Do you live in that studio?
Yeah.
I wish.
That'd be so weird if we looked and it was a living room that was from the scene right behind you.
Yeah, that was really cool. Like, it looked like there was a bunch of rooms in there. There was a kitchen in there. Was it all filmed in that one studio?
Yeah, it was a one-stop shop. Because I think with COVID too, like, we're super, like, we want to be super safe, so we didn't want to have to shift locations. We wanted the crew to be very minimal, and it turned out really fun. So
yeah, cool. So I'm pretty as a play on words, starstruck a little bit, because I've been a fan of you guys for many years. I actually saw you on tour with a bunch of my friends back in like 7th grade when you guys played in Fargo, North Dakota.
Oh, amazing! I remember that venue. It was amazing.
Yeah, that was it's a great. I don't remember what the venue was called.
It was like a brand new, and it was beautiful venue. I remember it because it sounded amazing. I remember our sound engineer on that tour was like, "This is the best sounding room on the entire tour," because I think they built it for music and like apparently.
To be fair though, we played Fargo twice because we did on the Blizzard tour, right? Or was
I don't think we did. Did we do Fargo there?
I know. I mean, I think you're talking about the venue.
Was it in February or was it?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay, then it might have been another room.
Well, was it with Nelly? That's the big question.
I don't believe it was with Nelly.
Yeah, so I think it was our.
Then it would have been on maybe it was the AP tour.
Yeah.
Could have been. I think it was right around 2010, 2011.
Okay. Are you from Fargo?
I'm from right around that area, yeah.
Where about?
If you go about 25 miles east, it's a small town of Barnesville.
Okay.
No, it's about 2,500 people. It's pretty small.
Oh, I know. Yeah, my dad's from Brookings, South Dakota, and we actually played South Dakota, which was we kind of we did that Blizzard tour where we hit a bunch of like North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, just like all those just like all that little section right there.
Across the states. I think
in the winter, it was a great idea.
Cool.
We're missing two. I think we're missing 2 states. But anyways, thank you so much for listening to our music and coming to our shows. That's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I've been a fan for years, and playing the music at the high school dances. I used to go crazy for you guys' tracks with my friends. Awesome. It was a lot of fun. So you guys have a lot of memories with friends with your music. So that's amazing. So it's quite an honor to have you guys on the show. So kind of as we dig in here, how have you guys been? How's kind of creating during this crazy time? Walk us through what you've been up to, because you've been kind of not quiet for the last couple of years, but you haven't really released a lot of your own music. You've been doing a lot of work for other artists and stuff. So tell us about where you've been and kind of what's been up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this past year has been particularly, obviously difficult for so many musicians and bands. So like, I think even for us, we're so used to, I mean, even though we were quiet, we were touring a lot. We were playing shows with, for the Navy. We would be playing college shows, things like that. So we were definitely busy on the road, but I actually think that the fact that, lockdown came around and stuff like that actually slowed us down a little bit to really concentrate on putting forth new music and like really, just really specialize that part of it, which we were kind of always creating music, but it would be like one hand while 2 other hands were doing other things. So Nat and I actually went back to Colorado to be closer to our families, and we spent a good amount of time in Boulder. And the first part of it, we actually, even to protect our families, like we were probably a mile apart and we still weren't seeing each other, but we were doing this basically Zoom sessions, which is so actually like common now with like everyone's so used to it. We actually wrote with like a musician yesterday she's young. She's like, I haven't done a session in person yet. We're like, whoa, wow. Like, this is a new world of like it was so foreign for us, but we obviously have worked so much together that it worked. And we were like finding that workflow. And so I guess long story short, for the past years, like we really dug into the creative part of just working and not getting too bogged into other things. And we kind of started the process independent and not signed, but that's a longer story that we can get into. But yeah, we've been busy with that. Obviously just trying to like stay safe and stay sane and creative and be good, see our families and in a safe way and be around our people and try and help out the causes that we think are important right now too. So I think that's like the multifaceted thing that we've sort of been busy with.
So how are you balancing all because sanity and creativity are 2 different things. So how are you maintaining them both?
I think for us, I don't know. I mean, speaking for me, and I think kind of for our whole operation, like having the creativity to work on, having a project to work on has actually been really, a godsend in that like it gives you something to focus on and it gives you something to spend your days on. And I mean, I think as Sean was mentioning, like if there's one good thing, at least for us and for 303, it was that this thing has provided us with time away from all the other stuff that we were doing. We were writing so much for other artists and for other projects, and kind of between touring, it was kind of like, we'd have shows on the weekend and fly back to LA and work in the studio here with other artists and kind of like just be barely keeping up the whole time. And so this has like if anything, it really provided us with a time that we haven't had in forever, almost since we wrote Want, like our first record, where there was no timeline in the sense, and there was no real pressure on us. And I think that's been amazing to be able to like have that to focus on and just do it for fun and like get back to having fun with our music. Not that we've ever really gotten away from that, but really here we're very salient in that, like, I think consciously and subconsciously, it was great to be able to just focus on having fun, like kind of taking into account what we've done in the past and being true to kind of the sound and the mantra and the vibe of what we do as 303, but also kind of expanding on that and yeah, just having a project to work on. I think that, it's tough. Obviously people in the music business, we have so many friends who rely on touring, and we do as well, and it's really hard to have that taken away, and to not be able to do, obviously monetarily it's really tough, and then
sure,
I think we define a lot of who we are by being performers, especially because we started performing basically right as we started writing music. So I think it's tough, but I think we were able to focus on the other side of what we do, and that's creating music. It's writing music and producing music and just having fun.
Yeah. And like you said, that performing is really part of who you guys are, because you guys have that kind of crazy off the wall kind of stuff, which is good. It makes you who you are, and it really fits your sound. And you guys put on an incredible show. I'll never forget that show.
Thank you, man.
And it's like, to hear how you guys are kind of maintaining that and keeping that up is great. And like you said, a lot of artists are losing their revenue because of, not being able to tour. So are you in the studio like every day? Like, are you working with a lot of artists? Like, what's kind of up and coming for you guys? Like, are you working with a lot of artists, or you got an album coming out?
My guy over here is just doing claymation a couple hours every night.
I like, everyone picks up these kind of weird, I was just looking at Instagram, and our buddy posted on his stories like day whatever it is of quarantine, and he bought like juggling stuff, and it's like like we're all getting into stuff, but I've been it's a bit of a teaser for our next music video, but I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna try it. So I've been doing claymation, which has actually been like, I've weirdly, like, I think it fits my sort of like borderline like obsessive compulsive mentality of just like sitting there by myself and like crafting something over time, and it's been really fun. But I was just telling Nat, it's like 6 hours for 30 seconds, like so far. So we'll see. It's been fun, but
it's going to be the best goddamn 30 seconds of footage that's been made since the Seventh Seal. Man.
I think for us, I mean, I can speak more for myself. I think the benefit of me and Nat in our group is that, we like foundationally are aligned with a lot of things we believe in, and creativity and stuff like that. But I think we're also different in the sense of like, we're just different people and how we work with things. I think I contribute more to my music when I sort of take space away from things sometimes to like go explore like this, like claymation, or just like writing a novel, or like whatever it might be, or even just like going away and then coming back. I think, I moved out here to LA probably 8 or 9 years ago now. I can't remember. But when I came out here specifically to do the songwriting grind, and I spent a number of years, taking as many sessions as I could kind of take. And it's just a different thing. I mean, it really makes you appreciate when you have your own group and have your own creative control overarching, because when I kind of had to like unlearn some of the things that we were taking into the session sometimes as 303, because the whole point of 303 is that when we started, we just didn't kind of know. We didn't know what like a pre-chorus was, or like what, top 40 was, like in the sense of like, we need to make a song that works for this part of radio. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I think we have learned so much, but we also kind of have to go, okay, let's not exist within those rules, and like take the craft that we've kind of worked on, but also like explore and break the rules further. So I think we had enough space, at least in my opinion, on this foray into our music to like really experiment again. So it felt really good. I think I don't know, we've been writing for so long, but this was like, in my opinion, the first moment where I was like, this is like as freeing and fun, and without all these like tendrils of like expectations and like A&Rs. This is the first time where it's just me and Nat again. And that is when the best things come out, I think, for us. So
you guys were signed before, and now you're completely independent, but you have photo finish records?
Yeah, we did a kind of came full circle with Photo Finish, which released our first record in 2008, our first kind of studio record called Want, and then kind of subsequently a couple records, and then they've since then have gone independent. So we did this record with them, which is great.
And they weren't independent, correct?
They weren't back in the day. Yeah, they were under Atlantic, which is kind of the Warner Music Group umbrella.
Sure. Okay. And the creativity, like you said, has really blossomed. And like, can you expand on that? In what ways? I mean, you said overarching like A&Rs and things like that, and having to kind of unlearn. What other things have kind
I think it's interesting because Sean was touching on, we've really, I think, working in songwriting, especially writing for other people and kind of both of us moving out to LA to do that, I think the benefit of it is that you hone your craft. It's crazy. I mean, we have the good fortune. Sometimes I'm like, I have to kick myself because, you'll be in a writing session every day with different people, or you'll end up, the music business is small enough that you end up, everybody pretty much ends up knowing each other. And it's also great to meet new people, but everyone's good at what they do. And they're very professional in the sense that like, it's, you learn so many techniques, you learn so many kind of ways of doing things, and you hone the craft. Because I think, in every kind of creative endeavor, there's a certain amount of inspiration and there's a certain amount of craft that goes into it. And kind of, I think that craft gets honed and honed and honed. And then sometimes like, it gets honed a little too much, I think. Sure. And especially for what we began doing as 303 and kind of why we began doing it, I think it was to shatter some of those molds, and it was to obviously, stay within the realms of what might be considered pop music, but also kind of do things differently, and in terms of song format, in terms of combining styles, in terms of, trying to make at least sonically something that was a little edgy, both sonically and lyrically, doing something that was overtly fun, but also serious. And so I think that, when it comes back to working on our music, on all of our records, I think like we've always been interested in the process of applying that technique, because as an artist, I think you want to expand and you want to do things differently and kind of build on them and try to do them better and hone what it is that you do as your artist and as your own thing, and then also kind of forget those rules and just do whatever do whatever feels right and mess around and kind of have fun. I think that's a central mantra for all of our stuff throughout our business, whether it's creative or executive or kind of on the business level, or all the facets of what we do creatively, whether it's songwriting or producing those songs and playing live shows especially, and doing our music videos. I think it's all based on having fun and trying to make that sense of fun translate into something that's collective and brings other people in and allows them to have fun no matter where they're from musically or otherwise.
And you guys definitely do that. And I was listening to Lonely Machines and watching the music video, and the sound is very similar to your older stuff, which I thought was very interesting. And you even had some lyrical things that hinted at like, don't trust me, like if your boyfriend still got beef. Like
he's had beef for a long.
He has beef. It's a lot of beef, like 10 or 12 years worth. It's a lot of beef. So let's go back a little bit. When Don't Trust Me, Starstruck, blah 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 with Kesha came out, like you guys had a lot of momentum very quickly. I mean, you guys dominated the airwaves. Like when I would get in the car, I remember turning the radio and I would always hear one of your guys' songs, which was amazing. But did you guys anticipate that much success? And take us to how that kind of came about.
So it's interesting.
Short answer, no.
Yeah, short answer, no. I mean, again, like we come from a world of like, we grew up with a lot of different forms of music, our parents playing a lot of stuff in our house, but we met with like sort of this backpacker underground hip hop thing. And when I go see artists, my favorite artists would be selling their own merch. They'd be playing these venues, maybe 1,000-person venues. And that was the top for me. I didn't really look on towards pop art. I wasn't super not that I didn't know a lot of the pop at the time, but I just like the stuff I listened to is very accessible as far as like if you'd see a show and like playing these shows. So like our watermark of what success meant for our group at the time was like playing our local venue. And thanks so much to our local support, we did that really quickly. And so like after that, I think all of it was unexpected. Like after we played the Fox in Boulder, after we headlined there, it was just like everything was a surprise. I remember there's so many anecdotes that go along this line, but Don't Trust Me was such an interesting anomaly for us because we were used to so many songs like Choke Chain or Holler You Pass Out, which we didn't think about radio potential or anything, but like obviously we're kind of being told a little bit with like, because we were working with Matt Squire, who did Panic at the Disco, and he had success, you know, at least through alternative, and he'd at least kind of put a seedling in our ear. And then we worked with Benny Blanco, who was like the protege at the time of like Dr. Luke, working with Katy Perry and all this stuff. So like we definitely were on this level that like we were getting these little like seeds of being like, oh, this would, you know, this sort of chorus or something like that. But we didn't know all of that. We just didn't speak that language. So we actually had Don't Trust Me go to alternative radio, and it was doing so well that our label, Atlantic, actually the head of Atlantic at the time, like literally called me and Nat up and was like, listen, we want to go to pop radio with this.
And we were like, fuck no.
No, we were like, we're not sellouts.
Yeah, because we grew up in the underground hip hop realm, and like anytime anything went pop, it was like no longer about.
We fought it like tooth and nail, and we were like, no, like our fans won't understand it. They're like Warped Tour, and they're all these like fans that kind of like they won't like that we're on pop radio. And she's like, I literally, it's out of my hands. Like the pop radio stations are literally playing it with me or without me. We're like, sure. And within a year of the song coming out, and I know it seems fast, but it was a year of us on the road pushing it. So we kind of saw, which is like I was saying, is so interesting for an artist to see the actual trajectory as radio ramps up. We would be playing shows at Warped Tour to maybe 50 to 100 kids to start. And then by the end of the tour, we were like bumped up another stage because we'd have like 1,000 kids out there, like by the, you know, 1,000, 2,000. And Katy Perry was actually on that same Warped Tour, and she had, she was the one before actually that we saw that.
Yeah.
But she that's watching hers was like, it was very similar in the sense that like, we just saw the increment of that it would climb. And after a year of pushing it, all of a sudden, I remember the day we were out here actually in Burbank, actually.
We were in Burbank.
Yeah, staying at the Bigfoot lot or like nearby or something.
Yeah, we were doing radio promo at Kiss FM out here.
And we had a #1 song on radio in the U.S. territories. And I remember it just the weirdest feeling because you're like, we have a #1 song, yet we're still in this parking lot with no one around us. It was like, it was this weird intangible feeling of like what it meant. And what the biggest thing to us that was like, to feel any of that was just to be at our shows and see the change. Like that was like the tangible quality of seeing the fans. So with all that said, like in all that success and all that momentum, it's like, it really did. It was momentum. It was like a tide coming in on us. Like, I don't think we were prepared for it. And nor did we ever, like we go to these like music meetings and like stuff like that. And there's kids who are so young or in college and they're just like, how do I hustle to get this #1 song? We're like, I think you got to be in the moment a little bit and kind of just be.
And also, we have no idea.
Yeah, I'm not gonna pretend like you don't. Like you got to. Our benchmark was a local venue, so it's like, you know.
Yeah. It's as I've spoken with quite a few artists and songwriters, and a lot of them say similar things. Like, we don't know how that happened. Like, it just did, and it just kind of exploded out of nowhere.
I think anyone who tells you that they do know like more than kind of an educated guess is full of shit.
It's hindsight. Anything can be a story. Like you could be like, oh, it felt like when you look back in hindsight. But even we talk to Benny, we see Benny quite often. He just had an interview recently where he goes, I always think I'm the worst in the room at music, which he's definitely not because he's like a savant with stuff. But like so many people, it's like, you know, you just kind of, you got to love your craft. And I think you just kind of have to have this genuine quality of why you're making it, because Nat and I weren't making that stuff to be like, let's sell records. I mean, we put stuff up on MySpace for free as soon as we made it, probably better or worse. Like the vocals would be, everything would just be like out the door, let's just put it up.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people like that kind of work in progress type stuff. Like I always enjoy when artists and the people that I follow share that kind of stuff. Like I get an inside look at what they're doing and how tracks evolve over time. So when did, like after all that kind of came up, you were working with Kesha and all kinds of huge artists at the time. Like, how did you kind of handle all that as that kind of kept going and going? Like, how did you keep the momentum?
That's another thing though, is like with those artists, they, at the time, like Katie was very natural. Like we met her on Warped Tour, and it was, we actually met her even before Warped Tour because Benny was working with her. And I remember we were working on Don't Trust Me, and he like FaceTime. Well, it was pre-FaceTime. It was like whatever it was at the time. But he played the song for her, and she's like, "Why are you bothering me with this?" Like, but we met.
No, I mean, to your point, I think it's interesting because it was a crazy 3 years for us, like between 2008 and between kind of 2010 when all that stuff peaked. I think it was, it was a wild ride, but like Sean was saying earlier, like none of it was expected for us. And I think that we're super fortunate in approaching the music business with that ignorance and that, like, I mean, we're surrounded by people who obviously, knew a lot more than us and helped us a lot along the way, which is amazing. But like, I think every opportunity that came along was just a fresh opportunity. And it was just like, at the beginning it was, you can play your local venue. Amazing. You can play this other venue in Denver. That's incredible. You can go and play some shows in California. Wow. Amazing. We've always dreamed of doing that. And then it's like, you can go on tour. That's scary and crazy and weird and awesome. But then, so everything that presented itself was this kind of sequential step of incredible. And I think, for us, it's also, I guess on the personal side of it, it's just like being pretty rooted in who we are and like our ethos of why we're doing and why we continue to do what we do. And that's just, so I think it's kind of, rooted in the sense of collectivity and just trying to have fun and bring other people into our vibe of like that happy, energetic kind of edgy thing that we do. And then having wonderful families, I think we're both very close with our families and kept us kind of feet on the ground and kind of like understanding, I don't know, why we're doing what we're doing. We also have a lot of interests outside of music. I think that's important when, especially working intimately in music and songwriting for other people. I think it's great to like be able to step away. I think everyone with work, like I know some of the people who are at the top of their craft of what they do in their businesses, like just live and breathe that stuff. But I think, and like good for them. But I think, for me at least, like it's important to be able to have other things to
like, I'm too passionate about claymation to step away. Like
he's almost like he's just like a musician with a claymation addiction.
No, it's the opposite. I'm fully invested in this.
So what is claymation?
Well, it is the formation of clay.
You take clay, you rub it all over your body.
Yeah, like the stop motion, basically. Like
sure. Okay.
Yeah, it's basically
Nightmare Before Christmas. The Tim Burton is all claymation.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, The Nightmare Before Christmas, Wallace and Gromit. Like it's just this tedious old form of stop animation that is beautiful and also, like I said, tedious. But it's, again, I just think there's things that fuel back into, like, at least for us, like there's some people that, like Nat said, live and breathe every single quality of what they do in their business, and they're on this hustle. We definitely live and breathe what we do, but we like to have more of a holistic approach to, like,
we're just really bad at it. So it's not our.
Yeah. So going back just a little bit, how did you guys are from Boulder, Colorado. How did you guys meet? Did you go to school together?
We were in, it's funny, like we were talking about that kind of backpacker underground hip hop scene. So we had kind of like been aware. I had seen him and his brother do a battle rap against each other before I knew them. And it got nasty. It was remember the player? It was called the Players Club.
Oh my God, yeah, the Players Club. Yeah, it's hard to face your brother in a battle because it's like you're doing like your mama jokes at each other, and it's like
that's my mom.
Yeah, it's. Oh, by the way, happy birthday to my brother today.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, it's his birthday, but he
today?
Actually, he's a big part of my musical experience, and like both actually. I mean, we definitely, we that's the nature of how we met and stuff, is like he was aware of me, like I'm not 6'8", so it's like, we're from the same town. It's kind of hard not to like be like, oh, it's that guy, because he'd be standing in front of me at all the hip hop shows. I'd be like, get out of the way. And then we played basketball, so I would see him around at the gym sometimes, but I didn't know him personally. I happened to be, well, it was previous. I actually was stalking, his high school had like a public access TV show
called Panther TV. Shout out.
Yeah, and back before, like, there's like the Tim and Eric sort of like artistic obsession with like public access. Like I really loved it because it was raw and sort of like, you'd be watching public access and all of a sudden like someone would just call in and start like just cussing and like going crazy, and they wouldn't be able to, because they don't have like the wherewithal to edit it. But Nat was on this channel and he was scratching like records, and he was doing this artist Buck 65, who's like a Canadian like rapper who basically at the time, like, it's pretty rare to find someone else who was like into Buck 65. And I saw him scratching this. I was like, wow, like this dude knows this. I'm like, that's crazy.
What's funny is that like my face wasn't in that.
But your fingers are so, like, I could tell it was
It was literally just my finger. It was like a slow-mo of me doing it.
It said your name, though. I said your name.
But then how did you connect my name with my face?
Because I met you. So, like, I met him, and there's other videos. There's the parking lot one you did with, like, the
1134.
See, I'm a fan. I'm, like, just
a
stan. I'm a stan of
my public access.
But, so we had a physics class together, and it was, I mean, I have to admit, like, I staged it a little bit because I sat by him and I like wore even like this like group, like this hip hop group shirt. I was just like, this dude's gonna definitely like, so I was kind of just like,
I mean, if I see like, okay, flashback to 2003 and a dude sits next to me in an Anticon shirt. Of course, I gotta gas this dude up, you know?
Yeah.
I gotta ask, what's the deal? How do you know what Anticon is? He's
so
like, oh, this shirt you made?
oh, you mean this? Yeah, I went, like, I bought this at the show. Were you at that show? Like, so we just kind of became this, like, it was like, I mean, for better word, bromance, but like
we want to shout out Paul Beal, our professor of physics 20.
But not a shout out to
Jerry.
Yeah, we had a bunch of classes, and like, honestly, we were at school, and like I was just like, we started hanging out, and he would like, he had his vinyl, and we go over to DJ instrumentals and stuff and like kind of freestyle. And then it's such a weird, because it's so full circle, because my brother was going through his old musical equipment, and we had this digital 12 Boss. It was a Boss digital 12 track recording device, and that's what we used to always record on. And it, like, back when we had no idea what like a preamp or anything, like, we would just like, it was like magic. Every time the microphone would work, we'd be like, great, it's not blowing out.
Do you
like,
remember the first thing we ever recorded?
I thought it was the Two Lame Shows.
No. Remember, it was in your dorm room. Do you remember how we did it? We recorded a terrible cover of Peter Frampton, By Your Side. Using headphones, like, because headphones,
I used to do that,
if you reverse the headphones, you can use them as a microphone essentially.
Sure.
So we just did a cover of Peter Frampton, By Your Side, using
Do what you do.
Yeah. All I want to be is by your side.
Yeah, that's funny.
So it was all, I mean, we bonded early over a lot of stuff, and I think
having fun making stuff. We would make stuff up. Matt would have a riff on guitar, and I would just freestyle like songs. And that was like the essence of like, that was like this, the germination of like why we sort of like moved into, and we were talking about this the other day. We started a band that was like a block party, like rip off sort of dance rock band. We played one show in a basement of a house, and like
somehow we watched us. Somehow we never played after that. I think the show was so bad that we were all, I think all mutually, we were just like, all right, it's time.
So it's funny because like MySpace was the window to the outside, and I think like we had a couple, like, it was like a horse race with a couple other things we were doing, but it was like 303. I remember the first time, like our friend Tristan, who was in this band, Signal to Noise, that was like one of our favorite Colorado bands. I remember we were in a minivan driving to like a movie, and we put on 303, and he just looked at me so angrily, and he goes, this is going to be the biggest thing that came out of Boulder. And I was just like laughing. And I just remember that moment because he was like pissed. He was like, after all this work that all we've done, like, this is going to be the biggest thing that comes out. And so like, yeah, it's wild, to think back on all those beginnings.
And is 303 the biggest thing to come out of Boulder?
No, there's Big Head Todd and the Monsters.
Yeah, well,
shut up.
I mean,
there's the samples.
Yeah, there's like I mean, we're not in jam band. We're not like we're like the oddity out of Boulder, because it's like bluegrass and jam bands and like electronic.
Actually, you know the biggest thing to come out of Boulder, to be honest.
What's that?
Let me see him do it.
Oh, I thought Crocs, baby.
You know what these are?
Crocs?
Yeah, baby.
Oh, I love Crocs.
They're from Boulder. Born and bred.
Really?
Shout out Bodecker family.
Shout out. Wow. God, I've got like 3 pairs.
Hey, let's get it sponsored by Crocs. Okay?
Yeah, let's get this sponsored by Crocs. Let's hook it up. I heard that there was a meme or something going on that they were going out of business because their shoes never wore out, so nobody ever needed to buy any new ones.
Oh, true.
Wow.
I don't know if that was true or not.
Lennon,
My shoes are
Lennon,
wearing
how did you celebrate Croctober, man?
I wore my Crocs.
There you go. Everything.
I keep trying to buy a new pair, but I'm like, I don't need a new pair.
Why not? Yeah.
Why I don't need a new pair, and I've got like a Yoshi and a Pokemon thing on, like pushed in there. So it's like.
Plus, if you go in the ocean and like swim with them, they're gonna float, so you're not gonna lose them.
Right, you can't lose them.
Can I ask you to tell me what Pokemon are you rocking on there?
I think it's just a Pokeball.
Okay.
So it's not an actual Pokemon in it. There's like a little Yoshi with Mario riding him.
Sorry, I just fell asleep for a second.
Has it been a long day?
No, you guys started talking about Pokemon.
Hey, I thought I thought we were gonna be kindred spirits because Yoshi. I always pick Yoshi for Mario Kart. I'm a Yoshi guy, and I thought he was gonna pick like
Apparently, Nat's not a video game guy.
He's not only not a video game.
We didn't
guy.
have a TV when I was a kid, so I never watched Pokemon, and then
Sure.
He's a porn addict.
That's true. That's true. That dial-up in there. I still rock dial-up just for the nostalgia.
God, that noise.
Yeah, that noise. I remember having dial-up too years and years ago, and nobody could use the phones, or you couldn't be on the internet.
Oh, especially up there, in North Dakota, you guys probably just got like broadband.
Come on.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's. I mean, we're just getting out of dial-up now up there 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So you guys, 303 is the area code from where you guys? That's how the name came about.
303. Yep.
303. And who does a lot of the production? Like, what do you do, Nat, and what do you do, Sean? Kind of.
So we lean more toward. I mean, Sean does the heavy lifting on the lyrical and kind of vocal melody side. I've always done our production. Sometimes, over the years, I've collaborated with some people on it, and then recently, I've always done it, and then have done everything A to Z for the past few years. And for me, it's interesting because in the music business, like, sometimes people separate those things in terms of production and songwriting, and they can be separate. Like, sure. I've definitely done some things where I've just kind of produced something that someone has sent me, but I guess coming up as the way we did in music, for me, it was always the same thing. It was always just like a different form of creative expression, and kind of the sound was kind of integral to how it would make us feel. Like the lyrics that Sean was saying that we were developing together would kind of influence like how the sounds should express themselves. And so, yeah, I think with us, it's always been really harmonious. It also helps that we're just two dudes, and we're at the base of it, we're like really kind of the best of friends. And I think that, that's been amazing because for all the kind of the important like decisions or pathways or whatever that's come along our way, we've always been kind of eerily aligned on that stuff. And it's like, I think creatively also it's great because I don't know, we're at this point, we know what each other, how we do what we do, and to be able to compliment it, and we kind of like finish each other's
sandwiches.
We finish each other's spas.
Yeah. I think sometimes, like, again, like, I mean, Nat's being pretty humble about it. I guess like early on it was both of us, and Nat was producing all of it. And then as we got more into Want and like working even with Matt Squire, which we both learned a lot from, like a lot. It still was like Nat, it was an interesting line. And I think musicianship has crossed over that now because you can see a lot of producers asking for songwriting, and then like vice versa. Oh, I thought it was a bottle of tequila, and I was like, whoa, this guy's going ham.
How do you know?
Like nowadays, I think it is different because production used to be a lot more of like a sacred sort of like, it was like, I will get my points and like, I'm going to be a producer. I don't necessarily need the songwriting, but music's changed so much that a lot of producers would prefer it. And obviously they're more involved in the creation process of it. And that was always like, at least 303, that was always our thing. It was like, it was never like Nat would simply send a beat and then I would do the thing. And like, it was like we were writing stuff from the ground up, and even when there were co-production or anything on the albums, like those were, I mean, you can hear it. Like Nat had a signature sound, I think, even on Want that started to like permeate. I think it was taken into like Kesha's stuff and to other, like
it's a Maelstrom synth in Reason, and there's a preset called Gangster Lead.
Like that was your signature, like the sort of arpeggiated like lead up the top, and like I know for a fact, and it's like, because I mean it's no secret that it went to the Dr. Luke stuff after we worked on the stuff with
Party in the USA.
I know, Party in the USA, all those Katy Perry songs, but I mean it's actually like it's very, you know, it's like a salute to what Nat was doing, but it was yeah, exactly. So and for me it's like, yeah, I come from sort of more of the melody, top line, lyric part of it, and that's sort of where we've hung our hats as external songwriters too. But I think when we come together, we like to mix it up. Like sometimes we like for 303 we just pull out a guitar and write from that. Sometimes I'll come in with just a vocal melody idea or a lyric, and then we'll try and fit around that. So we've had different ways of doing it. Lonely Machines was like the perfect combination because, like you said, it had old sounds to it. That was sort of intentional because Nat was like going back through some of the old stuff and even the production program that he was working with early on, which was Reason, and kind of was pulling out some of those sounds, and like it was like a punch for punch. Like he started with that simple beat, and I was like started with that little verse melody, and it sort of progressed that way. So that's why it like felt really great for our next step forward was to put that out.
And do you, Sean, are you a musician? And Nat, are you a musician? Like, what instruments do you guys play?
Yeah, I'm like,
he's an idiot savant.
I'm an idiot. What is it? A master of none, but like
Jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades.
Master of none.
Yeah, that's kind of it. I mean, honestly, I grew up in a very musical family. My mom's a singer. My dad plays guitar. My older brother is really great. My younger brother is a great piano player. I think I can write on almost like any medium, like a piano, a guitar, but I'm not sitting there shredding. So that's my thing.
Yeah, I grew up. I guess if there's anything that I'm best at, it's probably guitar and kind of acoustic guitar and electrics and stuff. But I can bang my way around the keyboards that are back. Those are real keyboards. They're not props. We're not actually in that.
They're cardboard. It's a green screen.
It's a green screen.
I mean, I would consider myself a guitar player. And then I think, along the years, I do like the computer an instrument. I think that, production
absolutely
has become, especially with the modern techniques and abilities of kind of anyone to make music anywhere on any sort of laptop. You just get a program and just kind of play around with it and have fun. I think that's its own instrument, and if anything, it's kind of more powerful than anything. So I mean, I think a lot. I would definitely kill to be as gifted instrumentally as some of the people we've worked with. Like we've worked with Greg Kirsten, who's amazing on all fronts. Like he's an amazing producer, and then he's just the most gifted instrumentalist that you could ever see. But
well, they say like you can't teach taste, and Greg Kirsten's one of those people who has
the worst taste.
Yeah, he's the worst. Yeah, I hope you're listening. No, he's one of those people. It's like it's rare. I think sometimes you're almost cursed. Sometimes when you go to like Berkeley or something, because sometimes you can't get out of your head of all the references of what you're playing. But I think there's a medium where it's like if you're like Greg Kirsten was just like he has got taste. Like he knows tone. He knows what synth sounds best, and he's just a natural arpeggiator. Like he's a human arpeggiator.
He's got taste in his toenails, as we like to say.
And Nat knows firsthand
because I've tasted his toenails.
How did that happen?
Yeah, well, that's a different.
Yeah,
story.
that's not the Life Gives You Lemons podcast. That's the other one. That's our weekly thing that we do with people's toenails.
Life gives you lice.
When lice gives you toenails. When lice gives you fungus. Anyway.
So how did you get into production, Nat? And what did you start on? What are you producing in now?
Oh man, so I guess
acid.
Yeah, there was a
That's how it all starts, I think.
There was a program called Acid Music back in the day. My mom got a CD burner when I was in high school, and we were like one of the first families with a CD burner, which was sick. Because I would like make little mixtapes, and free with it came a program called Acid Music, and it was a DAW, like a digital audio workstation. before I knew what that was. And so like, then my parents bought me turntables when I turned 18. So I was really into kind of mixing and especially kind of scratch DJing and the hip hop tradition. And so I started recording that into Acid and started making these beats that were in one sense like crazy. I don't know how I would have done what I did now. And then on the other sense, like the worst. I didn't know how to put things on tempo. So everything was like totally out of time. But that got me in. And then one of my friends gave me a music production program called Reason back in the day. And that kind of just like, for me, I think it's it's kind of a metaphor I can liken it to everything. It was just fun. It was just like another realm of creative expansion. And I could do things, make sounds that were like so satisfying that I couldn't have done before. Because I didn't own synthesizers. I didn't own any, all I had was a couple guitars. But with these programs, they're so democratic in that sense that like anyone from anywhere can like kind of make any sound that they want. And
I just remember Reason, you toggle it and you'd see the back of the rack with all the chords.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'd just be like, oh, I'm so screwed. And I'd be like, I don't know.
No, but then, and so I think that, shortly after I kind of started doing that, Sean and I met, and it was just a fun, I think for all of our stuff, it was a hobby that became a career. And I think that, first and foremost, we've touched on it before when, talking to you just now, but like, I think it was so blissful in that sense that it was what we loved doing that became what we were able to do for a living and what we were able to keep doing and having fun and kind of without regrets. And like, it was just that expansion of that thing. So I think it's, for me, it was just a question of, it was another instrument to learn how to play. It was another thing. It was another, like a sport to play. If you fall in love with playing sport, if you fall in love with playing Pokemon Go.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was like, I was doing these like MC battles and stuff, and it was just like, it was very different because I think like sometimes I think my skill of being in a room, if I'm like, I'm in some of these sessions, I'm like, why am I here? Because this like incredible singers, like very talented and stuff. And I think if I have one trait that I developed unknowingly,
he's hot, he's gorgeous.
Yeah,
this is good looks.
I bring in a lot of cash and I just throw it. I buy everyone lunch.
He's got sponsorships. He brings in a sponsor.
No, it was free. It was like doing this, like it was battling and doing all this stuff, freestyling, and it's like it's kind of interesting. And I was an English lit major in college as well, and it's like, I don't know. I think that's what the quality that I bring. I mean, it's obviously with 303, like we try and progress and stuff. And even with Lonely Machines, like do stuff that feels like intuitive. Like, I don't think it feels too written because a lot of it is literally like off. Like it's like us literally, actually the last screaming part of the song that we kept, it's like the first take, I didn't have any lyrics. I just made it up as I yelled, and like we kept that take, so it's not like
that's how true art is done.
Yeah, I guess so.
No, Sean's being very humble about his stuff, but I think on his side, his musicianship, his craft of songwriting is amazing. And I've had the good fortune of working, in music in LA now, and like I was saying, it's amazing to be able to work with so many gifted people, and on that side, Sean's so good and so proficient, and so. Like I don't know. I think your lyrics are amazing, and your melodies are amazing because they're at the time.
Thanks for getting this out of them.
They're substantive, but they're also relatable, and they're also.
Thank you. Yeah, we're gonna be able to play this back now. So.
Yeah, you're gonna have that on tape forever.
It'll be on the internet forever. Anything references. So, what's kind of the process for you guys? Like, how do you guys start a song? I know you talked about kind of. You bounce off in a guitar melody, or Sean, you'll come in with a vocal melody. Like, what's kind of the next steps after that?
Honestly, it's like it is always different. But I'd say if there's like one consistency, it's like, we get together and we just sort of hold hands. We say a prayer to the spaghetti monster in the sky.
Spaghetti man?
No, but I think for us, what has been like, it's just showing up. I think honestly that's the biggest thing, and I know it's sort of like a cliche, but it's like it's just putting the time together to show up. And it's not always going to work, and I think some days it really feels like work. Like some days you're just like pushing through a song and you're really trying hard for a concept or something, and that's okay. Like, I just feel like some people are so brazen against that, but I think it's like, it's okay. Like, I think that's where those difficult places are like fine to exist in. And sometimes you honestly even get a good song out of that, but like not every song is going to be effortless. Not every day is going to be just like fun. But I think it's just kind of showing up and being willing to sort of take anything that comes in. And I think that's the point, is like Nat is really good at prepping a lot of ideas. But the point is like, it's sad to say, but most of the stuff he preps isn't necessarily where we go.
Sucks.
No, but the point is like he's taking the time to think about things. But it's kind of interesting that we come in and a lot of times he'll play some starts. And sometimes we do go off of that. But a lot of times it's okay too that we just start something brand new. And I think he's doing those starts because it helps him creatively to kind of like just start spinning the wheels too. So, and even me too, if I come in with concepts or lyrics written, most of the time we don't go with that either. It's usually the thing that just like kind of like
coalesces from all that stuff. And I think that, you know, Sean's touching on it too, and I think it is that mixture of craft and inspiration. I think that as an artist, you're always kind of, I don't know, in my mind, you're kind of balancing those two forces, and it's not to, you know, say that one is more meriting of the honor of being an artist than the other. But I think that, you know, you do kind of, you find the balance between those. And some days, you know, we've written songs that ended up, I think being really cool, kind of purely on the craft side. And then on the other side, like, we've written songs that are purely inspirational that got done really quickly, and you know, we've applied the craft afterwards to it. And but
like, listen, like, Don't Trust Me, I guess the essence of it was kind of like one afternoon. We worked on it for a long time after, but then like something like Starstruck was like a year of like creating stuff over and over. My First Kiss was also a longer process where we went back and like we had something. So it's like there's no one way. And I think when people say like there's like this like illusion of being like, we knew it was a hit because it just came out in 15 minutes or something, it's like I think a lot of people are like romanticizing the process sometimes.
And I think, you know, everyone has different ways of working, and then within that it can take so many different shapes in how we create music. And how I think that's part of what's refreshing about it, is that it's obviously never the same. You kind of sometimes you stick to, you know, the way that you know how to do it. But I think that, you know, if there's any one thing centrally that defines maybe how we work, that's a common thread, it's having fun. It's being creatively expressive, feeling like we're in a space where we can have fun, and whether that fun manifests itself as like just, you know, writing a sad song, but like feeling the kind of gratification of getting it out and creating, and just, even if it's going to live on our hard drives forever and no one's going to hear it, like at least we did it. And I think that, you know, and I think that sense of kind of creative fulfillment and fun is really what inspires me, at least, mostly creating our stuff.
Yeah, at least throwing the spaghetti on the wall, getting it out of your minds, and then going like, okay, do we want to take a picture of this and release it to the world? Or
palms are sweaty.
Palms are heavy.
What is it?
Wait,
Mom's spaghetti?
There's vomit on his shirt already. Mom's spaghetti.
Oh, you threw a mom's spaghetti. You don't want to throw that up.
Don't throw that out.
Shout out to Olive Garden, by the way, for hosting me on two. Speaking of high school dances, I went to Winter Ball. The women take the men they asked them, and I was taking the Olive Garden twice. So shout out to Olive Garden.
What?
Bottomless breadsticks.
It's expensive there, man.
I hope they're doing the support your local small.
Support your local OG.
I like Olive Garden, but in very small doses.
Yeah, I want to say sorry to the one in Arkansas that someone associated with our group took 2 of their wine glasses from their store.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's not cool.
Wait, I don't know this story.
Yeah, on the last Warped Tour, Rob.
Oh.
Rob took their.
You're really throwing Rob under.
So when you're in producing, do you have like a favorite go-to synth or sample packs that you guys like? Walk us through kind of like the production process.
We actually put it up on Fiverr and just see who can produce it for us.
There's that red one is actually a Nord Lead 2, which is featured on Don't Trust Me and a lot of others. That is one of my favorites. These Junos that are in the back that you can see back there are some of our favorites. Actually, the main line from the ding 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 ding, the "Don't Trust Me" is on the Juno. And then I think, you know, that's kind of evolved over the days. Like I was saying, in our early days, a lot of those things were Reason, the synths that were built into Reason, just from necessity. And like I think you learn to master and have fun with what you have at your disposal. And so that was that. And then over the years, it's evolved to a lot of different things. But I think recently it's kind of gotten back to some more organic stuff, guitars and voice and piano, and kind of, you know, I think that as we were talking about, you hone your craft. And for me personally, like, I think that on the production side of things, like you kind of just get more tools in your belt. And sometimes you have sometimes it's too much and you have to focus in. And then sometimes it's amazing because you can go back to things that you used to do. And that's what I did actually on Lonely Machines, this new song, is that I was like, you know what, I want to dig into some of the old stuff, and so how I used to do some of the old stuff. And it's completely different in certain ways from what I do now. And so like digging back into that and relearning how you did what you did is
it's crazy. We've never used auto-tune or Melodyne or anything.
Ever. Perfect pitch.
Yeah, perfect pitch. I was going to say, those vocal effects, they're natural.
Yeah. Basically, my voice just sounds like it's auto-tuned all the time.
Yeah. His voice is actually the Siri voice.
Do you believe in love?
Do you remember what that actually sounded? Have you listened to it recently?
It doesn't sound auto-tuned at all anymore because we're so used to it now. So
yeah, and it's getting crazy with artificial intelligence, how they're training computers.
They write great songs, man.
They do. They do.
Have you heard the song that the computer wrote?
No.
I think they did a simulation where
I thought you were going to make a joke.
No, it's not even a joke. But they did a simulation where they had a computer, like kind of, they input a lot of data from pop songs, and they had a computer try to write a pop song.
There's an electronic song from an artist that did that.
Did you hear the song the computer wrote? It bites.
I'll give you an air 5 for that one too.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, that was pretty good. Yeah, there's an artist, I think he works at Spotify or something in Sweden, and he has this computer and he ran it through a bunch of stuff and it wrote this whole song in like seconds. Yeah, I don't remember what it was called.
I'm not gonna lie. Some of the Swedish songwriters feel like that. They're just like so nuanced about it feels like it's running through like an algorithm. But you know, come on, computers, come take my job from me. Go ahead, it's fine. You're not gonna take our jobs.
Cool. So, just wrapping up the production side, I know we've been talking for almost an hour. I could talk to you guys for a lot longer, but I'm sure you got way better things to do than keep giving me Lennons. So Not
really, dude.
Yeah, we'll pretend. We'll pretend like we got a lot to do.
I'm sure you got better things to do.
I've got clay waiting for me at home.
Hopefully it's not drying out. Hopefully I'm not keeping it too long or you don't dry out. So do you guys do your own mixing, mastering too, or do you kind of send that off, or like how do you kind of finish up the tracks?
So recently, yeah, we've been doing it. And I think it's twofold, I think. I think on the first side, just purely logistically, it just saves some money. And it's
sure.
You know, I think if you have some experience and you feel confident in doing what you're doing, and you can save some money on the front end of making your records, it like allows you to do other things, and if you're going to spend, if you have some budget, to spend some more budget on other things that, you know, that might have been neglected on that side. And then I think the other side is it's creatively, I think it's become important, and at least in our sound, and like I've actually been mixing and mastering a fair amount of records that I work on for other people too. And I think it's just because, like I was saying earlier, the production for me is all production kind of melds, at least if you're writing a song, it kind of melds into the songwriting process. And I think sonics are important in that for me, and mixing kind of is molded into there, and mastering, you know, I think is kind of to a greater or less extent part of that as well. And so, yeah, so actually we'll have mixed and mastered all this new stuff that we're planning on putting out on this record.
Cool. And what kind of stuff do you do to each record? Like, what are some of the things that you're doing?
I think at least on the production side, I'm kind of always mixing. I think more or less, like I definitely kind of, once we've recorded everything that we need to record and gone through, and kind of, at least on the creative side of the writing chordal structure, lyrically, vocal melody. And once we've kind of gotten all that stuff, I'll go through and really, with a fine tooth comb, and try to do the thing and reference it all, across a lot of systems. And that it takes a long time, and it's pretty obsessive, to be honest. But
what versions do we get to here? Like 30?
I'm usually in at least 30, but yeah. So I think that I'm in Logic. These days I'm in Logic, and then I'll use other programs. I'll use Ableton. I'll use Reason, like we were talking about.
Throw a couple presets out there.
I'll throw some presets.
What are you working with? And
there's not too much magic to my stuff, to be honest. Like it's a lot of track layering and a lot of signal processing. But I think at the end of the day, for me, it's not to get too technical, but it's like, I think sound is sound, and it's either loud or not loud, and you kind of just go from that baseline, and then try not to get too much into a vortex of like, it's either self-doubt or, I think that was one thing on this record that was a lot of fun creatively, I think, for me, was that we were kind of, in certain ways, at least at the beginning, we were very limited in terms of sonics and in terms of, and like I was like running to Sean's door and dropping off some gear so that he record, and vice versa. He was like dropping me stuff off, and then we were like scurrying away and like sanitizing stuff. And I think we were kind of leaning into that and like just not second guessing a lot of things, both creatively and sonically. And I think that was really refreshing and kind of nice to be able to let go a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I know, especially in electronic music, you just kind of squash it without it sounding like shit.
You squash it and then you beef it up.
You squash it and then you squash it again.
I think like TikTok is sort of like taken even like the mixing quality to the next level, because it's just blown out the hell anyway. So like,
what does it matter, man? People are going to be listening to this on an iPhone, so it doesn't.
Yeah, out of the speaker.
Exactly. It's like there was a meme too where somebody they kind of showed the process of like the recording and how much it costs and the board, and then it gets funneled down into a 99-cent MP3 file.
Totally.
Yeah,
it's like, what's the point?
I don't use any of this shit. We just use like honestly,
this is just so we look cool on this.
We did a songwriting session yesterday with this artist, and like needs be, but like she recorded her vocals on an iPhone and sent it back to me, and it sounds fine. It's like, so why not?
The song, for us, song is king. Above anything else, it's like if we can record it on a Tascam 4-track, we'd probably be even cooler for doing that. But it's the song is king, I think, for us.
Yeah, for sure. And like Sean said, that's just a green screen behind you anyway. So
yeah,
we're
actually not in the same room. No, we're hanging. I waited. We've been getting regularly tested. I waited for.
I'm glad that you're. That's like.
No, I waited.
Telling people.
I waited for an hour and 45 minutes at Dodger Stadium today.
Oh, you went today?
It was good though. It's free. Yeah.
Yeah, I got tested a couple months ago, but I saw the lines. It's just absolute insanity there now. But
gotta stay safe.
Absolutely.
Stay safe. But yeah, so that's.
We want to give a big shout out to Burbank for you, man.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, I love it up here.
Shout out to North Dakota.
Shout out to North Dakota. Shout out to my hometown, Barnesville, my friends that went to see you guys.
Barnesville.
Shout out to Cassie, Gage, and Ryan.
Shout out.
Now I have to send it to them.
We're on Cameo now.
By the way, we started Cameo, and if you go on there, all our donations go to it's a charity called the Sierra Club, and it's for sort of environmental conservation. So if anyone wants to go on there, we've been doing it for 2 days now, and it's been pretty fun. So it goes to a good cause, not just us.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm not a good cause.
Not just to more clay.
Not just this. My friend's strange clay addiction.
They call me Clay Aikens.
Clay.
Cool. So I don't want to keep you guys too much longer. As things kind of hopefully go back to normal within the next year or two, and music kind of hopefully comes back as well, give us what are you guys planning to do? What could we look forward to?
Music's back. We just dropped a song.
That's true. The music's back. You guys are back.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We've, we're taking our time with, obviously there's much bigger things and important things in the world to sort of get aligned. But obviously we definitely respect, we know all the musicians, we know all the hardworking people that work to even make the music industry happen. Obviously everyone that we tour with, whether it's, tour managers to merch sellers to venues, we know how damaging this all is to that. And it's, even restaurants can work at a certain capacity and it's still tough for them. But like the music needs to be an intimate place where people can be in. So we're really looking forward to it when it feels safe. We had tours booked, actually. We were supposed to be in the UK, 5 months ago, 4 or 5 months ago, right when, into lockdown, basically. So we're going to get back out there and play. I think we're lining it up right for us, even though it wasn't super intentional. But I think like hopefully as we roll out songs, like we'll at the end of the line here, we'll be able to play it pretty shortly after. We'll see. I mean, obviously, I think our intention is just to like release music as it feels natural. But as we talked about, our music relies so much on our shows. Yeah. So I think that's big in our plans. Like we're happy to be releasing music that we feel really happy about with Photo Finish and a great partnership, and sort of just re-engage people, like obviously like you and your friends that have great memories, back in the day with us, hopefully to just like spark that sort of nostalgia, because I think it's great to have right now. It's great to have something that doesn't feel as heavy in the world to just kind of lean into. So I think that's more or less our plan,
Great. Yeah, that's great. And hopefully when things go back, I'll definitely go out and see you guys again. You guys put on one hell of a show.
Awesome. Yeah, we'd love to have you.
Keep supporting you any way that I can, whether it's through blog write-ups or more podcast interviews. I'm always happy.
We appreciate you so much.
That is music to our ears, man. Thank you so much. It's very flattering. Thanks for the fun chat and the engaging chat. Definitely. Sorry we had to tell you about our weird clay addictions.
I love it. It was great.
You're here to
hear first. My boy's got a clay obsession.
Claymation addiction. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Sean and Nat. It was so great chatting with you. Quite honored as well. Like I said, I've been following you for years. So thank you again so much for your time and for chatting with me. And I wish you the best of luck. And hopefully I'll be able to meet you in person when things come back too.
Oh man,
it will happen. Let's put it out there in the universe.
Let's put it out in the universe. I'll be buying VIP tickets.
Thanks so much, man. We're honored and we're flattered. And we hope you and yours stay safe out there.
Thank you. You guys take care and have a great holiday season.